Hey everyone, I'm Corey Peax with Peax Equipment. We're really designed to help you thrive on the mountain, and what I mean by that is specifically designing gear and equipment that's going to help you be comfortable in the backcountry and not miserable in the backcountry. So there's a couple different mindsets when you think about coming out west and going elk hunting. I used to be an ounce counter. I used to cut my toothbrush. But as I've gotten a little bit older, I've really found the value or more value in my sleep, my rest, my recovery, my guilty pleasures, things like that. And so when we design gear, we make sure that it's functional, comfortable, and purpose-driven, meaning that it's gonna really extend your backcountry experience or give you the comforts to live comfortably in the backcountry. So one of the things that we should start with are gaiters, as well as trekking poles, which I've got right behind me. So gaiters, one of the values of gaiters, besides keeping moisture out from your boots, is also going to be to keep seeds from getting stuck in your socks. A lot of times I'll have to take a couple pairs of socks when I don't have gaiters, versus wearing gaiters, I can bring fewer socks because I'm not sitting there picking seeds out for my socks. So obvious other reasons for gaiters, just durability, abrasion resistancy, snow, keeping snow from getting inside your boots. But like I said, seeds are something that people don't really think about until they're in it and experiencing it. Trekking poles are all about stability. We call them our sissy sticks, but in reality, it's gonna be about endurance. Think about like just muscle fatigue. Trekking poles are gonna help prevent that. They're gonna create stability. You're not hiking around with a 10-pound pack mostly, right? Or at least hiking into base camp. You're gonna be hiking in with a 40-pound, 50-pound pack. And if you get a little too far over, that trekking pole is gonna help you balance. It's gonna prevent back injury, knee problems, things like that. So trekking poles are a really beneficial addition to your quiver or your backcountry kit. Some other things with trekking poles, crossing rivers with a heavy pack, not just a river, but a creek. It's gonna help you balance as you cross, which is gonna help keep your feet dry, which is uber important in the backcountry. So we should dive a little deeper in our elite trekking poles, which is my favorite of the 3 different styles of trekking poles that we make. Compression clip trekking pole, what makes us a little different, we're using 2 carbon sections and 1 lower aluminum section. That really what we found is this is going to be the most durable construction type when thinking about weight and durability. Full aluminum might be a little more durable, but it's going to be twice as heavy. All carbon, you end up sacrificing or risking a chance of breaking that lower section. The reason is carbon's very structural up and down, but when kind of levered against sideways, it's going to fracture on you, which is why we combine the aluminum section to the bottom. Some other things that we've done with our Elite series, one, the dampener. So you want to keep the plastic or rubber tip on because it's quieter if you're hiking in the woods using these things. You don't want the poking of rocks to be loud and obnoxious. So you want to keep this on. Other trekking poles, this just slides on, which means it will slide off. We've got a threaded end cap here, so it's going to stay on for you. Another thing that we did is we designed the basket to be smaller, and the reason that we designed the basket to be smaller really is about longevity and durability. So when you're busting through brush downfall, which is often the case, the bottom of the trekking pole is going to get wedged in between 2 sticks. The bigger the basket, the more likely it's going to get wedged in there. So we designed it so that way it doesn't get stuck. If it does get stuck, right, you're going to go forward, you're going to have your body, your forward momentum. You just run the risk of damaging your trekking pole. These smaller baskets stop the tip from going into the mud, also makes it easier to kind of slide out of any kind of joints or logs, downfall, etc. The Elite weighs in about 8.5 ounces per trekking pole, so super light. Definitely my favorite. The reason that we stack, if you ever wonder why there's 2 handles on 1 trekking pole, is when you're going uphill, you don't want, I don't know how to put this in words, but you get better leverage the lower you are, so you often want to shorten your trekking pole when you're going uphill. Out of convenience, you can just drop to the lower handle instead of having to make the adjustment. Another thing to keep in mind with trekking poles, which is often overlooked, is the right way to use your handle. We talked about trekking poles and muscle fatigue. Same with hands. I don't know if your hands necessarily get fatigued, But from like a stability perspective, a lot of people just kind of do this. In reality, you should come up and then down. So now, I'm hoping this is in camera or in view, this is where my strength is versus it just being my grip strength. Now I've kind of really engaged my whole forearm system to be able to catch and balance myself when I need to. Some other things that are necessities, headlamp. So we're pretty well known for our Duo Backcountry, or our Backcountry Duo headlamp. You've got a white light and a red light. Our red light's super bright, and that's one of the values of our headlamp. The reason that red lights are so beneficial, wildlife have a blue, yellow, gray color spectrum, or their line of, or their, how do I want to put it? Their vision is in blue, yellow, and gray, so they don't see reds, which is why orange is a color for safety for hunters, but also you're not seen when you wear orange with wildlife. So the red light allows you to go in unseen in the mornings and evenings. A lot of headlamps don't focus on a red light being more of a distance. They usually design a headlamp with a red light that is designed more for like camps inside your tent, reading light almost. So check out our Backcountry Duo. So you got a lot of options for shelters. What we found to be our favorite is a teepee. You get a lot of shoulder space, head space, a lot of sleeping space in a teepee for its weight. So our teepee is really when hunting with a stove, so your bow, a stove, sleeping bag, all your equipment. Our teepee is going to be a 2-person. Let's say you come out to scout, you can easily get 3 or 4 people in this teepee. Some of the benefits of the Solitude is the structural integrity that we've designed into it. So a lot of teepees will be kind of soft and flappy. What we've done is we've integrated our trekking poles into the top here called cross-trek stabilization, and you can see that it creates a lot of structural integrity within the teepee. So it's going to have a better working load, or if it's snowing on you, it's going to hold up better in that snow. Some other nice to haves that we've designed into our teepee is a single point guy out, which is just less or fewer tent stakes. But what that does when you guy out your teepee, you're going to see that it's going to pull it out, and what I say is it gives you more room to sit up in. It gives you more shoulder space. So it gives you more livable, functional room within your teepee, which is really important when the weather turns and you're living inside this teepee. Some other things that I've loved to do with my Solitude is, if I can in the right scenario, I'll set up a tarp and I'll anchor off one of the doors and I'll set it out so that way I can come out of the teepee and I've got a shelter. I can set up my chairs. I can get dressed in the morning upright. It just gives me a little bit more room to flex and to span out and to live more comfortably in the backcountry. One important piece to know about our teepee, it weighs about 4 pounds, and that includes the center pole, the teepee, all the cordage, tent stakes, as well as the footprint. One thing that we're going to be designing or launching in August is our stove. It's called the Torrid stove. It's right about 2 pounds. It's all die pressed, designed well, and meant to be basically put together quickly. So you're not having to mess around with loose wing nuts and putting things together that are hard with cold hands. This thing will come together within about 2 minutes. Again, weighs right around 2 pounds. I don't have any more information on that because this one's a prototype. It'll launch probably in August. Medium size, I should say that. So one other thing that I should talk about a stove, especially if you're coming from out east, is why a stove? Why would I pack extra 2 pounds? So one thing to keep in mind, especially September in Montana, which is where we're out of, you're going to get rain, you're going to get snow, you're going to get just about any and every type of weather that you can expect. I mean, it can be 80 degrees, it can be 15 degrees. The stove is just going to be there to help you stay in the backcountry no matter really what scenario plays out. If your gear gets wet, the best way, or really the only way to dry, is either by a campfire outside, which you always run the risk of burning something, or in the tent, which is really ideal, the most ideal scenario. So with the stove and with the cross-trek stabilization, you basically have a hanging platform or a drying rack inside your teepee. So dry out your socks, dry out your boots, stay really warm and comfortable before going to sleep. You'll get about 2 hours of residual heat out of our stove once loaded, and then in the morning, start it back up, warm up nice and warm, or wake up nice and warm, drink your coffee in a nice controlled environment, and then get out, get after it. All right, so we covered kind of your shelter, but one thing to keep in mind is your sleeping bag. Sleeping bags traditionally were designed to be kind of coffins, just what you sleep in. When you're in your teepee, you're typically on top of it and you're not inside the sleeping bag, which is kind of a waste of space. So what we wanted to design is a fully functional sleeping bag that integrated with your shelter. One of the most important features for that is arms-free port. What we've done from an arms-free perspective, or just an arm, your ability to pop your arms out of your sleeping bag, is we designed the sleeping bag to self-close, or a self-closing baffle, which is patented. And so when you reach out of the sleeping bag, or you come out of the sleeping bag, go back in, it self-closes so you don't lose any heat. There's no loss of heat there. The value of the arm-free ports are like endless. The obvious ones are if you've got a stove in the morning, instead of getting out of your sleeping bag, which seems counterproductive, to fire up and get or create warmth, and you're losing all the warmth that you've kept in all night, super counterproductive. So pop your arms out, start the fire, you're still retaining the heat, you're nice and comfortable. Let's say you just got back from the hunt, crawl inside your sleeping bag, eat your dinner, plan the day, right? Look at your phone. But also while you're sleeping, let's say something starts scratching on your tent, you're not trying to fumble around to unzip the sleeping bag to get out. Pop your arms out, whatever it is that you're using for safety, bear spray, firearm, etc. You're just going to be more comfortable in that environment, which really leads me to sleeping, just a good night's rest, which is ultimately what we designed this sleeping bag for, was so you can recover, right? Sleep better, hunt better. That's kind of our narrative for our Solace 15. Some other really nice features to the sleeping bag are going to be the center front zipper. I joke that it's muscle memory. All of our jackets are center front. So you can find this a lot easier than a side zipper. But really what it does is let's say it is too hot, you can just sit up in the middle of this thing and it's still very comfortable on you. But what you can also do with this full center front zipper is you can unzip it all the way. The hood stores, so you can tuck that hood away and out of the way, and you can flip this over as a quilt. Why you might do that is, again, back to Montana weather, September, it could be 40 degrees at night, it could be 15 degrees at night. And comfort's not just about staying warm, it's also about regulating your heat or staying cool. And so you can flip this thing over on those warm nights and wear it as a quilt and have a comfortable night's rest. Some other nice to haves about the hood is because I'm a side sleeper, if I've got, say, a fleece hoodie, or if I'm wearing a puffy jacket, I'll store this hood and it'll allow me to sleep on the side without my head inside of the hood. Some other nice benefits, it's a 3-way zipper. Well, one, we use an anti-snag zipper, so it's just never going to catch the sleeping bag material. You won't have to fumble with that. But we're using a 3-way zipper, and that 3-way zipper will allow you to vent more than just the foot box. So traditional sleeping bags just allow you to vent from the bottom up. My feet run cold, and that just makes my feet more cold. And so what I do is I'll use this to find where I actually want to vent throughout my system. So again, regulating body temperature, better night's sleep. From there, we designed a very articulated foot box, meaning you can see the shape. What this does is it prevents cold spots. So if a sleeping bag isn't designed with an articulated foot box, you're most likely going to compress down. When down's compressed, you create cold spots. Cold spots are uncomfortable, and for obvious reasons, your feet are going to get cold. So combined with this articulated foot box, we added a stretch baffle zone. And so what that does is, if you're a side sleeper, you're not going to roll around like a log. Your typically knees are bent and you bind up inside the sleeping bag as you try to roll over, because you don't roll with a sleeping bag. Most people roll inside the sleeping bag. And so the ergonomic foot box as well as the stretch zone gives you a lot of space to properly roll over without getting tangled up inside that sleeping bag. So you're going to, again, have a better night's sleep. You're not going to get woken up by your sleeping bag. Some of the main, I'd say, specifications of the sleeping bag. It's rated at 13 degrees, so we label it a 15-degree sleeping bag, but the comfort zone is 13 degrees, ISO tested. We're using 850 hydrophobic goose down. That's your insulation. 850 goose down. That's your fill power. Fill power is a measurement of quality. You also want to know the fill weight. So 850 is like a quality measurement. How much of that 850 is in a sleeping bag is a really important metric to know. We've got 22 ounces in our regular. So if you want to compare other sleeping bags or you're out shopping, make sure you look at the fill power, but also the fill weight. That's how much insulation they're going to put in. It's going to help you determine how much warmer a sleeping bag is going to be, apples to apples. From there, the overall weight of our sleeping bag in a regular is 2 pounds, 5 ounces. We make a regular wide, and a tall. All right, so let's talk about something that's not out yet. This is our origami TNT tarp and tent. The idea behind this tarp is that it also creates a really protected or better protected shelter against the elements. You know, if I'm setting up my teepee, but then traveling a few miles away from base camp into a spike camp and the weather turns, traditional A-frames kind of leave this whole side open and exposed to the elements. I don't know much rain that comes straight down. Most of it's diagonal. And so this lip here really creates a lot more protection against the elements when it is raining. It's really innovative in the sense that you're just clipping, utilizing the addition of a few clips, kind of like origami, and creating a structure that's pretty darn roomy and leveraging your trekking poles to give you headspace. That's our origami TNT.